welcome to my session. I will be talking about my first Drupal project as a junior project manager. My name is Anastasia, but everybody calls me Nastya. I'm 25 years old. I'm currently a junior IT project manager at Kokomor in Frankfurt, Germany. This is my first job in the IT area, and I've been enjoying it very much so far. It's also my very first DrupalCon, and I decided to give a session here right away. So please be mercy on me. I have defined 3 goals for this session for us. First of all, for me to share my very first project management experience with you, talk about challenges which I had and so on. Also to tell you more about what we actually worked on, because the project is very interesting and very purposeful, and I thought many people would like to know about it. And also give you some food for thought, which I had during the project, or maybe feel a space to feel a bit nostalgic, you know, remembering the times back at the times when you were maybe in the same position as I was some months ago. I created a poll and already 52 people voted, which is amazing. And I asked you a question: how were you feeling? What were your feelings when you received your first project or first project task? Wait a sec, I was told that I'm not sharing. Chip,
exactly. I just unmuted myself. Hi everyone, this is Chip,
okay.
Nastya's moderator. Now you are sharing.
Okay, yeah, well, you didn't miss anything. The question I was asking was how you were feeling, and many of you answered with excited, I think more than 50%. Some of you said, well, 7% said stressed, 15% said anxious, and most of you also said optimistic. So telling about how I felt, well, I had many thoughts. I have many thoughts and many questions at the beginning. Well, asking myself, what is Drupal actually? How can I manage the team without even having seen the code once? Or many people in my team were way more experienced than I was, and how can I deal with that? Also, of course, there were lots of what if questions. What if I do not deliver on time or exceed the budget? What if? And well, if you can imagine, I was a bit, I was excited, but I was also a bit stressed. So the quote would actually help me to begin with, to start with, was a quote by Simon Sinek. Maybe, well, you definitely heard his TED talk, or maybe read some of his works. He said, you don't hire for skills, you hire for attitude, and you can also always teach skills. Well, whether this quote is suitable in any situation is to be debated about, maybe, but for me it was a very helpful thing to think of about my attitude. And I was asking myself a question: what my attitude is, and what are the experiences of my life which shape my attitude, and how can I use them in order to succeed in my first job as a project manager. And I would like to talk about 3 things which I experienced in my life before I started my very first job and my very first Drupal project, which actually helped me during the project itself. And to start with, it's a professional sports. I've been playing tennis professionally for 10 years. As I was a kid or as a teenager later. And well, it's obviously a huge part of my life. It's been a huge part of my life and shaped me in a very big way. And this is something that I took lots of learnings from. As I was in the second part of my bachelor here in Germany, I took over a leadership role in a non-for-profit organization called ISEC. It is the world's biggest student-run exchange organization, and I was leading a team or a community for 3.5 years there. I learned a big deal of how to deal with people, how to be empathetic in the communication, and also got to know lots of people from all over the world. And the third thing, which I maybe cannot skip here and cannot not mention, is the fact that I moved to another country. I was 18 years old as I moved to Germany from Russia, back where I come from. And this is an experience which actually challenged you a lot and gets you out of your comfort zone. So this is something that I'll also be mentioning today. So what were the exact learnings which I took out of those three things? First of all, I remember playing tennis and losing a point and looking back to my father, who was always coaching me and supporting me. And the thing he always said was, think 1 point at a time and fight for each one of them. So don't think about the fact that you lost now, just concentrate on this one and focus on this one right now. And this is how you will win. Well, sometimes you do give your best, but you still make mistakes or your opponent is stronger. This is things sometimes work out like this. And this is when I learned that it's okay to make mistakes, even in that case. Working on a non-for-profit organization where 95% of people working on a volunteer base, I learned to start with why, to begin by asking the question, asking myself and my team a question, why are you doing what you are doing? So every team member and every community member understands what is my role here and why am I doing this? What is my motivation? It also taught me to be transparent and empathetic in the communication of mine, that this is the key to actually achieve lots of stuff which you would like to achieve. Sometimes at the beginning of my journey here in Germany, I did make mistakes because I simply was not aware of what I should have done. And I remember asking myself a question, being very devastated, like, how couldn't I have known this? And actually I couldn't have, because sometimes you just don't know what you don't know, and this is also fine. And well, another thing that I learned is that it can grow you a lot if you are brave enough to face this fear of the unknown, and which I faced at that time when I moved to another country at that young age. And this is what I'm also doing, I guess, still now with my very first session here. But what I'd like to start with is, with one of my biggest learnings, and start with why and tell you more about the project itself. So what was the background? We were creating a platform for people who were diagnosed with Parkinson's, for their relatives and friends. And the platform should be a safe place for them to communicate in a safe way and also to connect with each other. How we did it was that we used the concept we've already used. We implemented it, we created it for another disease for people who were diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and we adjusted it. We stick to Drupal 7, which it was running on at that point of time. It was a strategic decision for us based on the scope, on the timing, and on the budget of the project. And we also added some new features and adapted the design scheme, which was the fun part. What can people do on this platform? People can connect to each other and find people who are affected in the same way by this disease. So Parkinson's is a very unique diagnosis for each of people who are diagnosed. So not everybody has the same medication or the symptoms or treatment plans. So it's very hard sometimes to find a person who actually you can relate to in these terms. And our search function actually allows it, because you can filter based on different criteria and find the person maybe just in your area to talk to. Users can also create groups, like to discuss several topics they want to. They can do it publicly or post anonymously. And they can also see an overview of the events near them or the events that they're interested in online. For example, some webinars talking about some research on this disease, which is actually very helpful for people who are diagnosed, because it gives them lots of knowledge, but also lots of hope. It's a very nice feature as well. And this is how Meet Parkinson.de was created, translated to English with Parkinson.de. The platform has right now many hundreds of users which are connected in a safe way right now with each other through our authentication process. And yeah, it's just the beginning for us. But what about the learnings which I mentioned before? Well, for me, learning is nothing steady or nothing which stays in place for a long time. It's something that is being challenged and challenges you. And yeah, let's see maybe how those learnings were challenged during my first Drupal project. Well, as I started, I had many thoughts, as I mentioned. And the biggest one was that I have lots of things that I need to take care of as a project manager, even a junior project manager. And I was afraid to miss something or forget something important. And this is when I came back to the learning of mine, which I took from sports, which was to think one point at a time and fight for each one of them. So not think about the mistakes I've made or the fears which I have in the future, but just to focus on this one particular thing that I'm doing right now. But being project manager, I realized doesn't mean, well, you cannot go far if you just think about now and right now. And you need to be proactive. You need to take a break and think about the next steps. To ask yourself a question, what do you do next? What are your potential challenges in the future? And so on and so forth. And in order to implement this learning, I thought of a solution. The solution was to begin 30 minutes earlier than my team does, my workday, and take time to see bigger picture. So not only ask myself a question, what am I doing today? What are the things? But also ask myself a question, what is happening in 1 week and what can I do already now in order to tackle any potential bottlenecks which is coming up the way. This is the thing that which I'm still using right now for a month already. Well, right now with some more Drupal projects, I tend to begin even a bit earlier, but it helps me a lot to just pause and not think task-oriented, because only thinking task-oriented, yeah, it's sometimes not giving you an access to a bigger picture. Second thought which I had was that, some people on my team had more experience that I did, still do, in the IT area. I was afraid I'll struggle to, make a decision or give any advice or maybe make a wrong decision, And this is when I used another learning which I took from my nonprofit experience and team leadership experience there, is to communicate with transparency and empathy. I always say, what is your point right now and where are you coming from, and try to understand where the person is coming from. What I learned is that being a project manager doesn't mean knowing everything, because I expected that, I should be on the same level as my people are, the people in my team. But, I do have another important function, and it is project management, and I need to focus on it, otherwise I won't be successful in it. Still, it is a very nice thing to do, and very important thing to do is to get the knowledge which you are missing, because, you can expect to get it at some point of time, but then you're not sure. So I decided to be proactive there as well and take time and schedule meetings with people who could onboard me and give me some extra knowledge in the areas which I felt I lacked some. And yeah, it was a game changer for me, and also a nice thing. It's a nice way also to show the team that you do care, and that every area and every department is important for you. And it's important for you that you also are, capable of supporting them in this way. So this is another solution which I learned of. And the third one, which it's not always applying to the project itself, but sometimes also to our life, I asked myself the question, or I said, I cannot fail here. It's like a real job. It's a real risk. There are some things on stake. And this is when I remembered me moving to Germany and still making mistakes, because some things I just didn't know. And I didn't know that I didn't know them, and I did make mistakes, and it's fine. Because every mistake is an asset which adds lots of value to our future work. And what I'm asking myself is, how can we profit from this knowledge in the future? And I'm asking this every single time. And the solution, or the thing which we did, was doing a retrospective with our team, which we do anyways after each project. And we did keep documented for the future reference all of the important things and the next steps. It's especially important for this project because we are hoping to use this concept in the future as well for maybe other target groups or maybe other people affected by other diseases, because the concept is working very well. So yeah, it was the third one. And at the end, it turned out great. And I had some fears and we had some risks, but well, everything was fine. Of course, there were some fun and not so fun moments. I brought some of you, for some of you, something that you maybe can relate to. Well, seeing the platform come together and get the new design was fun, and having to discuss for hours how to censor some elements was not so fun. To create initial structure of the platform and test it out was very fun, but you realize that there are like several things to be fixed before the release. It's not so fun. Moving tickets forwards during our daily meetings is my favorite thing to do, but sometimes you need to move them backwards because something was done. Of course, not so fun. And well, my favorite thing to do is to give my team a well-prepared task, a well-prepared ticket, but to write it under time pressure is not so fun. And maybe some of you can relate to that as well. Well, I started with a quote, and I'd like to finish with a quote as well. What I learned is that you yourself and your experiences, no matter where they come from, are the most valuable assets that you have, and you need to choose them and use them wisely. And this is the quote by me. I think that the question which we all can ask ourselves at every point of time is, what are the experiences of my life that shaped my work the most, and share them. And I would really love if somebody of you could also share them with me later on. But for now, I think this is it. Thanks a lot for your attention, and let's stay connected. I hope to get to know many of you on this journey, on my Drupal journey, in the following days.
Thank you so much, Nastia, for the great talk and inspiring talk and the many impulses that you sent our way. Let's see about the questions. We have Redima asking, how was your experience with Drupal?
Yes. So, what is it called? Stop sharing. So, I've been working with Drupal also before, but not that in depth. It was great. Well, I didn't expect it will be so easy to learn. I did, as I mentioned, talk to our developer team, and they did show me what it actually looks like, also the CMS, how to manage it. And I really loved it, and I do still enjoy it in many other projects I didn't mention, but I'm still working on several Drupal projects right now. And this is not something that I'm scared of anymore, and this is something which I do feel familiar with right now. I love how many advantages it offers to the final to our customers. Especially in terms of user experience and how easy it is to manage for the content managers which we work with. Yeah, so only positive things to say, I'd say.
All right, thank you. There are no other questions, but let me ask something, because we didn't touch on that topic. I know that your project started before the pandemic and that it ended during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Did you guys have to adjust in any way?
Yes, well, there were several points. I don't even think we have time to talk about this, but we did. I didn't expect that the whole project will be running online, let's say, for the team. Do you mean internally or also in terms of the external, of the way we talk to the customer?
I mean everything.
Everything changed. So as I said, I didn't expect that our whole experience will be online. We did hope that at some point we will be able to present it physically and see final users who will be working with that. But yeah, we did adjust. All of our meetings were happening online. My onboarding was happening online. Yeah, it was a very intense experience also, and it added, of course, to the scope of the project for myself.
All right. And now we have a couple of questions popping in. I am just wondering, how much time do we have? We have 1 minute left. So you pick one, okay?
Okay. In a transparent and empathetic communication, how important is verbal language? Catalina is asking. Thank you for the question. Well, for me, it's, well, of course, as it was mentioned in the previous session, it's very important to see the person and also be open, let's say, in terms of how you are presenting your body language. But the words, they are our biggest source of power, I believe, and it's very important to talk to each other. I do prefer not to write anything which I assume may be, well, perceived in any wrong way as I'm addressing it, and to also be very careful with the words I use in order for them to represent actually what I'm saying. So for me, I do choose very carefully what I communicate, and I also address it to the team as well. I think every word brings a lot of responsibility, which we say, and I do enjoy working with people and talking to people directly. Yeah, if it's possible. And
that was it. I guess I'll be answering the other questions in written.
Yes, we will, of course, answer all of them in written. Yeah, feel free to contact me as well if you'd like to. I will be there all of the time. And yeah, thank you for attending the session.